In this session, we will show you how to get started with PowerTerm WebConnect 5.7.1 on a Windows 2008 R2 server. Here we have a fresh 2008 R2 server, and we'll start by adding two required roles. We'll add the web server role and the application server role. Under the application server role, make sure to enable the .NET Framework 3.51. Click Next to continue. The web server will be used to host the HTML pages that are provided by PowerTerm WebConnect. It'll also be used to host the web interface portal. Make sure to enable ASP. The installation should take a few minutes. Now that the server is ready, we'll go ahead and install PowerTerm WebConnect. At this dialog, you'll specify the temporary folder to where the setup files should be placed. The overall installation should take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. Click Evaluate to start a 30-day trial. If you purchase the product, you'll have to activate the software after it's been installed. Select full installation for most cases. Toward the end of the installation, you'll be asked for a cluster name. This is a name that will be displayed to the end users that describes the PowerTerm WebConnect environment. If you have any previous settings from an earlier version, it can be imported after this installation. Click on Programs Start Ericom WebConnect to run the upgrade utility. This will let you specify the PT server ini file from an existing or previous installation, and will import that configuration into this new installation. Now let's launch the admin console to publish a new application. At the Connect box, you'll log in with the local WebConnect administrator user. The default password is just a blank password. To publish a new application, click on Action and New. You can select a single application, a multiple application, or a full desktop. Click on the Browse button to select an application from a terminal server. Continue configuring the application through the steps of the wizard. At the Performance dialog, you can enable Blaze for RDP acceleration. This will be especially useful for your remote users connecting from slower network connections. At the owner screen, we'll select everyone for now to give access to everybody that connects to the system. Now we'll link PowerTerm WebConnect to Active Directory for user authentication and assignment of applications and desktops. Go to the Directory Services dialog box. Here we'll specify a credential, basically a user that can query the Active Directory server. Click Connect to ensure that the credentials work, and then click on the Browse button to make sure you can see the objects on the directory server. Now we'll click Close and go back to the Applications Owners dialog to assign a user or group to this particular application. Now we want to enable universal printing to allow users to print from their remote terminal server or virtual desktop to their local printer. We'll enable this by going to the PowerTerm WebConnect's admin console and clicking on Server Configuration, and then adding a few variables. There's 3 variables that we need to add. First, change the net-to-printer universal printing variable to 1. This enables the net-to-printer feature. Next, change the priv_universal printing variable also to 1. And finally, change RDP_disable universal printing to 0. You will also need to do this if you're using Tricerit. Now that PowerTerm WebConnect is installed on this server, there's a couple more things that we need to configure. First, because the web server is running on the same machine as PowerTerm WebConnect, we'll need to go to the IIS Manager and enable 32-bit applications. Click on Application Pools and right-click on the default app pool and click on Advanced Settings. Simply change the 32-bit application setting from false to true. Now that the settings are changed, click on Start Run and IIS Reset to reload the settings into IIS. Next, we'll configure the firewall on the server to allow the PowerTerm WebConnect ports. You can refer to the Administrator's Manual for all the ports that are used by PowerTerm WebConnect. Here, we'll add a new rule to the inbound rules. Select port, and then enter all the ports that we'll use on the PowerTerm WebConnect server. 4000 is the default PowerTerm WebConnect port, and this can be actually customized to any value that you wish. 3399 is used for the RDP Blaze acceleration protocol, 4020 for the load balancer, and 4001 for the administration console. And lastly, we'll give a name for this port rule. Now, let's prepare the Windows 2008 remote desktop server for use with PowerTerm WebConnect. This is a fresh server, and we'll start by adding a new role called Remote Desktop Services. This is also known as Terminal Services if you are using Windows 2003. For application or remote desktop publishing, all we need is the remote desktop session host. Configure the server based on your personalized settings and click Install. The process should take a few minutes. Finally, you'll need to reboot the server. After the reboot, we'll install a few agents on the terminal server so we can work with the PowerTerm WebConnect server. The first is the PowerTerm Terminal Server agent. It has a simple install and a small footprint, but provides very important functions between the terminal server and the PowerTerm WebConnect server. The installation is pretty easy. Just click on Next, and it should only take a minute or two. The next installation is the PowerTerm Blaze Server. This allows incoming Blaze communication for accelerated sessions for remote users. Again, the install is pretty straightforward. Just click through Next on most of the dialog boxes, and the install should only take a minute or two. Once the installation is complete, this terminal server will be ready to accept accelerated RDP sessions. Next, we'll install and enable universal printing for driverless redirected printing. In this example, we'll use Nettoprinter, but if you're using Triceret, it would work the same. You simply have to install the server component onto the terminal server. We will allow Windows printer mapping for Mac and Linux users, as Nettoprinter currently only supports Windows. The installation should take anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes. All of the add-on components can be found under the PowerTerm WebConnect installation under the Add-ons subdirectory. Once the installation is completed, this terminal server will be ready to perform universal printing when a user wants to print. Now, let's go to a workstation and connect to our newly configured PowerTerm WebConnect environment. In this example, we'll use Application Zone. And as you can see, since the component isn't already installed on this workstation, it will be automatically downloaded from the WebConnect server. At the login prompt, I will enter my Active Directory credentials to log into the server. Once I'm authenticated, I will be presented with a list of applications and desktops that my user has access to. Once I can see my applications and desktops, I simply have to double-click on the application to launch it. Once I select an application, the load balancer will find the least loaded terminal server to direct my request to. As my user is being authenticated into the terminal server, home drives and login directories will be applied. If Blaze is enabled, the Blaze banner will appear to indicate that this session will be accelerated using the Blaze protocol. This WordPad is a seamless application that's running from the terminal server, but appears like a local application on my workstation. Now let's print from this terminal server-based seamless application to a local printer. Right-click on the Nettoprinter system tray icon and select Configuration to select the desired local printer. In the application's Print dialog, you will see available redirected printers. They will have the user's ID as the prefix. When the user prints the job, it gets sent from the universal print driver down to the local print spooler. Thank you for watching. Visit our website for more information.